them all are grieving. There are people here that as we seek truth and as we seek justice, we understand that death has occurred. A young child who has died way too soon. And so let's not get it, let's not mistake, or as young folks say, let's not get it twisted. Let's understand why we're here. And as we talk about truth and as we talk about justice, we're not talking about truth and justice just for Jalen. We're talking about truth and justice for everybody involved. There are a lot of people involved. There's a community that's involved in this. This goes beyond what anybody could have ever imagined. No one would have imagined something like this prior to November 27th. Nobody. So we've got to make sure that we keep all this in perspective. This is real. It's not just a radio story or a newspaper story or a television story. It's not a soap opera. It's not. It's real. And lives will be affected forever because of this. And so it is important that we walk through this. Tracy's talked about it. We have to walk through this. We can't run through it. We can't skip through it. We can't skate through it. We have to walk through this to make sure that everything is done proper and in order, to cross every T, to dot every I. It is important. This baby deserves it. Jalen deserves it. These families deserve it. This community deserves it. There are people who are already, they're doing this already. Because there are people outside of Joplin who don't believe that fair trials come to everybody. There are people who believe that. And so Joplin and Jasper County have an opportunity to say, no, not now. We're going to do things differently. And the community has got to say that we have to do this differently. I had an opportunity to speak to the president of the NAACP, Mr. West, before I came down here. He did indicate that he would not be here. He did indicate that his reasoning for not being here was already mentioned. It is a matter of protocol. But as you see, there are members of the NAACP who are here. Our state convention stands with those members. Our state convention stands with the attorneys, all the attorneys that are represented with the families. So we stand here. Our role is simple right now. It's to monitor. Our job is to monitor the process. And that is my phone barking. And I do apologize, and I have no clue where it is. Deacon, I've got a deacon here.
Deacon's got it.
He's got it. I'm so sorry. I did a wedding one day, and I ran into the church, and usually before I do the wedding, I'll take my phone, I'll leave it in the office, I'll go into the sanctuary, but that day I was rushing. And so my phone was still on my hip. And we got to the part of the wedding where the question is asked, can anyone show just cause why these two should not be joined together? And my phone rang. And I did not answer. In the middle of grief, the Bible says that joy will come in the morning. That weeping will endure for a night, but that joy will come in the morning. And I was saying to Jalen's sisters that we believe in truth, but we have to work on justice. And we've heard the word truth and justice echoed, and oftentimes we find them on opposite ends of the spectrum. That there's one group that's trying to find truth and the other group that's trying to seek justice. And we seek truth in the death of this baby. All of us want to know what happened. We owe it to her and her memory and to her family and families in this community to know what happened so that these types of things can be avoided. We use it as a lesson too to make sure that these types of things can be avoided. We seek justice because too often justice gets clouded behind race, behind color, behind political influence or economic influence. We've looked over every piece of information that we could look over we've read the same things that you've read. We've watched the same interviews that you've watched. We've read the same blogs that you've read. So we've done all of that to try to understand as much as we can what could have happened, or what should have happened differently, or what shouldn't have happened at all. And in our estimation, there are a lot of questions from November to where we are now. There are a lot of questions as it relates to the death, as it relates to the actions after the injury took place, as it relates to the arrest, the interrogation of 2 people and only the arrest of 1, the involvement of outside parties, without saying names, but everybody in the city knows who I'm talking about. But that's important. Outside influence from beginning even to up to now. And how does that influence impact on a crime scene? On who gets called first? Does 911 get a call first? Or does Daddy get a call first? How does that happen? Why does a doctor show up instead of EMS show up? Why does this person do CPR versus a doctor do CPR? Why isn't a mother in a jet going to Kansas City rather than a grandmother? Why do I go home and change clothes? I'm a parent. And so there are just a lot of questions. Why did it take a lawyer, why did it take Tracy to say, Judge, you're too close to the situation? Why does that happen? Why do you allow all of these perceptions? Why do you allow all of this to be clouded when all of this could have been avoided, therefore to show transparency? And so yes, a community is asking questions. Yes, a family is asking questions. Yes, a lawyer is asking questions because you have created doubt. You have created these questions. Because for those of us who are watching this, doesn't seem like standard operation procedures were followed anywhere. Anywhere. I mean, questions about alleged confessions, lack of bond hearing, the external influences, all of these things cause those of us who have seen this too often reason to be concerned that Jalen may not get a fair shake. The reality is this, is that how do we find justice? It's already been mentioned. You've got to work to make sure too often that justice finds its way out of the darkness. And that's what we're here to do. Local law enforcement could do itself a service knowing that there's already a cloud over the investigation, to take the initiative to ask for an outside investigation. They know that right now the investigation is tainted simply by everything that is being said and done. There's no way that they can continue fairly. And that's just common sense speaking. That's just common sense. So they would do well. And between the attorneys that are involved, Jalen, the families that are involved, the community leaders that are involved, I'm sure that they'll come up with a strategy of moving forward. And we've made it very clear we will support the families. We'll support Jalen, we'll support the families, we'll support the attorneys in whatever capacity they think that we could best serve. Once again, it's a tragedy. A young life has been lost. Let's not lose sight of that. But at the end of the day, the church is here to say that we stand with this community. The church is also here to say that at the end of the day, somebody needs to be prepared to stand in the gap to heal a community. to heal a father,
Yes. Yes.
to heal a mother, to heal a 5-year-old brother,
Yes.
other family members and friends. And our prayer is that the church will stand in the gap to do that, because healing will have to come at some point. After justice is served, then healing will have to find its way. And so that's our position. That's where we stand. I don't know, I think that somebody will come up and kind of monitor how we will deal with questions if there are any.